Here is a rewritten version in English, with the numbers removed, the meaning preserved, similar length, added tension and intrigue, and expanded to fit a full dramatic 10-minute story. At my father's birthday dinner, my sister looked at my children and said, "We didn't plan for this." Then she added, without even lowering her voice, "There aren't extra seats for your annoying kids." My father cleared his throat and avoided my eyes. "Maybe it would be better if you stepped out." I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just gathered my twins' small hands into mine and walked out of the restaurant I had personally booked and paid for. Less than an hour later, my phone lit up. "Why is the account frozen? The bill is $1,900. I stared at the screen for a long moment before replying, "Sounds like you'll need a backup plan." Then I powered my phone off completely. That dinner was supposed to be perfect. My father's milestone birthday. I had spent weeks planning every detail. I reserved a private dining hall at Bellissimo, the most elegant Italian restaurant downtown. I coordinated the menu with relatives, ordered a custom cake, arranged wine service, decorations, everything. I even paid a non-refundable deposit from my own card. What I didn't plan for was my sister, Diane, standing in the doorway with her arms crossed, glaring at my 7-year-old twins like they were stray animals who wandered in off the street. No greeting, no smile, no happy birthday, Dad. Just cold dismissal. My daughter squeezed my hand. My son clutched the handmade birdhouse they had painted all week for their grandfather. Then my father stepped out, positioning himself beside Diane. "Kristen," he said quietly, "maybe it's better if you leave. You know how Diane gets when things don't go her way. She organized all of this." I nodded. He truly believed that. What he didn't know was that every contract bore my signature. My credit card was the primary payment method. The restaurant had my number listed as the contact. Every charge that night was tied to me. Instead of sitting in that dining hall pretending to be invisible, I drove my twins to Chuck E. Cheese. At first, they were confused. But once the game started, the laughter returned. My son proudly won enough tickets for a plastic ring. My daughter dominated a racing game like it was the Olympics. For the first time in weeks, I felt light. My phone began buzzing relentlessly. Messages from relatives asking where I went. From my aunt saying Diane was being dramatic. From my cousin saying Dad kept asking about me. I let them wonder. Because while the twins were feeding tokens into arcade machines, I stepped outside to the parking lot and made one calm phone call to Marcus, the restaurant manager I'd been coordinating with for weeks. I informed him that I would not be attending the event and that under no circumstances was my card to be charged. I revoked authorization immediately. Marcus was polite, professional, understanding, but policy was policy. Without a valid payment method, the party could not continue. Apparently, that was when the panic began. Diane's card was declined. Twice. She turned to my father, but he had recently maxed out his credit after buying a new fishing boat. My uncle suggested splitting the bill, but suddenly everyone discovered their banking apps weren't working. Wine had already been opened. Entrees were being plated. The staff stood nearby, patient but firm. My Aunt Carol, who enjoys drama almost as much as she enjoys truth, finally stood up and said, "Maybe if you hadn't thrown out the woman who planned and paid for this, we wouldn't be here." And just like that, the party fractured. Guests left. Some transferred what they could. My father covered part of it. Diane was forced to put the rest on her emergency credit card. I knew none of this that night. I was home, tucking my twins into bed, listening to them describe the best night ever. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and messages. Diane accused me of humiliating the family, of being vindictive, of ruining Dad's birthday. Then my father sent a message. "We need to talk." When I arrived at my childhood home, he looked older than he had the night before. That's when he told me Diane's husband had left her after the party. Apparently, her behavior had been the final straw. Then came the part one didn't expect. "She's moving in with me," my father said. "She'll need help with Stephanie during the divorce." Stephanie, my 13-year-old niece. After everything, he wanted me to babysit. I agreed, but with one condition. Diane would apologize to my children. A real apology. To my shock, she did. She arrived at my house the next morning with stuffed animals and tear-filled eyes. She admitted she had treated me terribly for years. She confessed she had told everyone she planned the party because she wanted to look like the good daughter for once. She apologized to the twins. They forgave her instantly. For a while, things seemed to improve. Stephanie started spending afternoons at my house. Diane appeared humbled, even grateful. Then I began noticing patterns. Overnight stays became frequent. Excuses multiplied. Work meetings, interviews, networking events. My friend Rachel finally said what I had been avoiding. "She's using you." When I gently asked Stephanie where her mom had been spending so much time, the truth came out. Diane was dating someone new, a man she met at a bar just weeks after her separation, while her daughter was practically living with me. I called her immediately. She tried to explain, said she needed time to rediscover herself, said she was drowning. I told her to come get her daughter. When she arrived, she looked different. New hair, new clothes, new version of herself. But when Stephanie stood there with packed bags and tearful eyes, something finally broke in Diane. She admitted she had been running away. From responsibility, from shame, from herself. This time, the apology felt different. Weeks later, my father called again. Diane had started therapy, intensive outpatient treatment. Not because anyone forced her, but because Stephanie told her she would rather have no mother than one who kept disappearing. That hit her harder than any bill ever could. Months have passed since that disastrous birthday. Diane and Stephanie now live in a small apartment. She attends therapy regularly. She shows up. She asks permission instead of assuming it. She came to my son's birthday recently. She stayed the entire time, helped clean up. My father called me afterward and said he was proud of me not for being generous, but for setting boundaries. For the first time, he defended me. Diane and I are not close. Maybe we never will be. But we are honest. And sometimes that's enough. That birthday dinner ended with a frozen account, a collapsed marriage, and a public humiliation. But it also forced truth into the open. And I learned something important. The best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's refusing to let them destroy you. And if you're lucky, sometimes the people who hurt you finally decide to change. Sometimes. And that part, I never saw coming.